All right, let's go over your factoring test. Question number 1, drag and drop the correct factors of the expression below. So you have basically in some ways kind of like multiple choice. And I have this problem. So what I like to do is I actually like to do the problem first and then see what my answers are. I'm going to write standard form there. Let me write that, standard form. And then my answer down here is called factored form, right? I'm going from standard to factored. Okay, so let's do that. So my A value here is 1, B value 7, C value is negative 8. Let's do our X. And then I'm going to write A times C up here, and this is my B value. So A times C is 1 times negative 8 gives me negative 8, and my B value is 7. What are two numbers? And this is what you like to do for the multiplication. I like to list out all my numbers on the side here. And if you think about it, it gives you a visual of either changing those to be positive or negatives. So the problem that gives me 7 would be 8 and 1. And then I need to think about which one is going to be positive, which one is going to be negative. Well, the B value is positive, so I'm going to make 8 positive and 1 negative. Now, you don't need to have those positive and negatives, but let's make sure we have our answer here. So I know that I'm going to have 8, positive 8, and negative 1. Okay, so this is what you need to recognize. Okay, it already has the symbols for you there. Do you see that? So I'm going to use positive 8. So 8 and a 1, because you notice that they're 8 and 1, but when you write them in, you got to be careful that this is a positive 8 and this is a 1 there, because that becomes a positive 8 and a negative 1. And that's your answer. Okay, this one was out of, doesn't tell us, but this one was out of 2 points. And this problem was pretty much all or nothing. Let's go to question number 2. All right, factor the trinomial p squared minus 15p plus 26. Okay, if you don't like the variable p for some reason, you can use the variable x. But guys, you can't just change someone's name and leave it like that. You would have to put it back into p's, okay? So let's just go ahead and do this problem. I have ax squared plus bx plus c. So this is going to give me a value, doesn't matter if you're using it here, it's 1. My b value, which is negative 15, and my c value, which is 26. Let's go ahead and make our x here. So a times c is going to be positive 26. My b value is going to be negative 15. Again, I like to write out all the factors here. On the side, give myself a visual. So I have 26 times 1. I have 13 times 2. Which one do you think we're going to use? Well, 13 and 2 are going to add to be a negative 15. So that means they both have to be negative. Their add or their sum. And in this direction, this has to be multiplying. Or when two numbers multiply is you're trying to find the answers called a product. Okay, so 13 and negative 2 are my answers here. And then I just need to fill in my variable. So that would be p minus 13 and p minus 2. Remember, because it's multiplication, you can use something called the commutative property of multiplication, which just means you can just change the order in which you write those and you will get full credit either of those. All right, I want to talk about some common mistakes. And I'll show you guys how I went back and did partial credit. So these are my CMs, okay? For question number 2, so this one has a max score of 1. So whatever you got, and the max score is 1. So you would have gotten 0.9 points if you did something like this, x minus 13, x minus 2, for having the different variables. So wrong variable. Now, you should be super thankful because number 1, in Edulastic, I selected the option of partial credit. I could have given you nothing or everything, or it has to be all correct or 0, but the first one I did was partial credit. The second thing I did is I actually went back for every single problem of yours and I hand graded it again to give you more points. So, common mistake is using the wrong variable. Okay. Another common mistake throughout the test, and I'm just going to write it here for this one, is the idea of multiplication versus a variable. And hopefully I can make this clear and make it kind of big. I write my variables like with a cursive. And multiplication, a lot of times students are thinking are like, it looks like an X, okay? Or a dot. Now, if you chose the wrong option, this is the wrong one. Let's write wrong, would have been like a letter X. And then wrong would have been a period. So this is kind of like in the middle. And that was hard to distinguish, but the computer actually read it wrong. So you guys need to be careful as you are taking your online tests. All right, let's go over the next page, question number 3. Let's read it first. The expression, it's an expression because there's no equal sign, 2x squared plus 5x minus 12 is equivalent or equals to which of the following? So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to write my standard form above it to identify my A, B's, and C's. Now, before I do that, the first thing we should always do, let's just review, from the factoring flowchart, is always figure out the GCF. And then you're always looking for the A, B's, and C's. And then if your A is equal to 1, you're going to use the X. But if your A value is greater than 1, then you will use both the X and the box. Now, it is possible for A equals 1 to use the box. Okay? It'll still work, but the shortcut is right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this problem. So, because my A value is 2, my B value is 5, and my C value is negative 12, my A value is greater than 1, so I'm going to have to use both the X and the box, right? So A times C, this is your B value. So A times C, 2 times negative 12 is negative 24. My B value is 5. I need to think of two numbers that multiply to be negative 24, but add to be 5. List out all the factors. Okay, here are all my factors. Now, let me just do a think out loud. 6 and 4 don't give me, if I either make them positive or negatives or a combination of does not equal 5. Same thing with like 12 and 2. That could be a negative 2. That would be 10. But this one here gives us what we need. 8 and 3. Okay. One of these has to be negative because a positive times a negative is a negative. And this 5 is positive, so I'm going to make the 3 negative. So when I put these into my box, I'm going to have 8x and negative 3x there in green. Notice I added an x because if you add those two together, that'll equal 5x. Okay. I'm always going to put the first term in the top left, and then the c value is always going to go in the bottom right. So that's a negative 12. All right, let's go ahead and take out the greatest common factor going this direction. Do you notice I cannot put a 2 over here on the left-hand side? Because if I put a 2 on the left-hand side, I can't divide an even number by a 3 or an odd number. Okay, so if you make a mistake, let me make the mistake right here. If you make this mistake, right, there is nothing times 2x that will equal negative 3x. Okay, so if you make the mistake, just come back and erase it. So over here, I'm going to have a 2x, right? 2x times x gives me the 2x squared. You can take out the greatest common factor going this direction. That would be a negative 3, right? And you can check. Negative 3 times x gives me a negative 3x. Let's go ahead and take a greatest common factor going this way. Okay, they're both even, so it's going to be a positive 4, right? 2x times 4 gives me positive 8x, and 4 times a negative 3 gives me a negative 12. So what I have here on the outside, I'm going to circle that, and that's my answer. Okay, so I actually like to go through x plus 4, yes, no, no, and no. And then 2x minus 3, no, yes, yes, no. Okay, so that means my answer is going to be C. C is my answer. And that one had a max score out of 1. So it was either 0 or 1 for that problem. Okay. Question number 4. State the factored form of the given expression. Do not use the spacebar when typing your answers. Okay, so basically, if you think about it, my answer is going to look something like this. Now, we are going to very soon do the opposite. Notice how I filled in the inside of the box of the last problem. Eventually, we're going to go start with the outside. So this is actually a good way of checking your answer. 2x times x equals 2x squared. So you can, again, think about it and use it to check your answer. So let's go ahead and do this problem here. I have an a value that's 2, b is negative 11, and c is 9. Going back up here, my a value is greater than 1, so I'm going to have to use the x in the box. Let's go ahead and do that. Here's my x, here's my box. Hopefully you're getting more confident with that. We're going to need that skill quite a bit this year. So a times c is going to be a positive 18, and my b value is negative 11. Again, go ahead and list out those numbers if you need help. And I'm going to choose 9 and 2. Well, they're both going to have to be negative, right? Negative 9 times negative 2 equals positive 18. Guys, use your calculator, right? Use your calculator. I'm allowing you to use it. Remember, as I'm writing them in the bottom left and the top right, you must add an x. In using this method of type of factoring, there's multiple ones. And then remember, the 2x squared goes up here, and the last value, 9, is going to go here. All right, let's go ahead and factor this. So my GCF going this way is 2x. GCF this way is a 9. I can change it to positive or negative later. Up here is going to go x. And in this way, I'm going to pick a negative 1, Why did I choose a -1? Because, again, you can multiply. -1 times 2x gives me -2x. X times 2x gives me 2x squared, or x times 9 equals -9x. So this one over here has to be negative. Let's change that. Pink, pink, my friend, pink. There we go. So that would give us -9 times x is -9x, and -9 times -1 gives me a +9. So there's my answer. Let's write that in there. 2x minus 9 and x minus 1 is our correct answer for question number 4, and that was out of a max score of 1 point. Okay, let's try number 5. Number 5 just tells us to factor. Okay, again, in that list, the very first thing we're going to do is the greatest common factor. Some of you guys are doing this. It was really good to see in your groups breaking up into factors. Okay, look, I just wrote a 2, and this 2 here is a hint. Okay, so that means I'm probably going to have a 2 on this side. 2 times a -4. All right, what do they have in common? The circle, 2. And then we're going to write what we did not circle. So x times x is x squared, and a -4. So I have this. 2 on the outside is my GCF. GCF is the 2. And then I have x squared minus 4. Uh-oh. Why did I leave that gap? You guys need to recognize that this is placeholder is a 0x. It's going to come up again when we do long division of polynomials. Now, if you get stuck on that, I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to first highlight that now we're going to use the x method on the inside. This is called a difference of squares. And if you recognize your a value is 1 here, you only need to do the x. Whoa. 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 Where are we? Sorry. We're only going to have to do the x. So in blue, again, down here, a times c is -4. My b value is a 0. Remember, this -4 here doesn't have an x on it, so that's the c value. Okay, we need that. Super important if we do things like quadratic formula and other things. Okay, what are my 2 numbers? My factors, 2 numbers that multiply to be -4, but they add to be 0. And this is going to be 4 and 0. Well, -4. Okay, watch this now. So, let's write this in a different color. I have 2 times, okay, we're factoring trinomials here. And now I'm going to list out the -4 and 0. Well, 0, positive, or negative. It's actually neither, but I'll just put +0 for a reason. And do you ever tell anybody, do you ever tell someone, uh-oh, this is not right. Not right. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Factoring police, come out. That's wrong. Factoring police. I caught my mistake. Those 2 numbers would multiply to be 0, but not multiply to be... They would add... Sorry, they would multiply to be 0, the ones I had. So that is 2 and -2. Good thing the factoring police came. Okay, so our answer here is 2 times x plus 2, x minus 2. Again, you could have written it as 2 times x minus 2 or an x plus 2 for full credit. Okay. How did I give partial credit here? It's like green. Question number, what are we on? 5? Okay, so if you got I would have given you 0.9 points if you wrote something like x plus 2, x minus 2, and you were missing basically the GCF. Missing GCF. So I gave you at least partial credit, right? You also would have gotten, if you took out a factor of a GCF of 2, okay, I would have given you 0.3 points. And let's just say you got the rest of the problem wrong. Let's just say you got, like, I don't know, 2 times x squared minus 4, and you left it like that. At least I gave you some partial credit for knowing that 2 is a GCF in that problem. Common mistakes are, I did see students think the problem was a negative 8x, and that would have been incorrect. All right, question number 6. Factor the expression 24x to the third plus 30x squared minus 9x, okay? You should start with the GCF. Oh, I gave you a hint right there. Ooh. Say that thing, okay? So if you wrote out the factors, okay, you're thinking of these numbers, what do they all have in common? They have a 3 in common. So let's try that. 3 times 8 times x times x times x. And then you have 3. So we're using that 3 as our big hint, right? 3 times 10 times x. And remember, anytime you have a negative, I like to write -1. Okay, what do they have in common here? They have a 3. And they have a 1x. All right, what did we not... what did we not do? So I have 8x squared plus 10x. I circled the wrong thing over here. Factoring, please. Hey, pink. There we go. All right. And that would have been minus 3. And then what would we have done? We need to factor this so that a value is greater than 1, so we're going to have to use both the x and the box. Okay? So I got a times c is -24, b value is +10. Two numbers that multiply to be -24 are 2 and 12. And if I make one of those negative, so I would have 12x and -2x. And then I have 8x squared. And then I have -3. Okay, let's try to factor this one. My GCF in this direction looks like a 2x. And this one, 8 and 12 are multiples of 4, so let's try 4x. Okay, this one looks weird. What do you get here? Well, I do see that they're both a negative, so let's try -1. And then over here, what's my GCF? 12 and 3 have a common factor of a 3. Let's try positive. And then let's just multiply to double check our answers, guys. 4x times 2x gives me 8x squared. 2x times -1 equals -2x. 4x times 3 gives me a 12x. And +3 times a -1 equals -3. So that does work. So my answer would be 4x minus 1 and 2x plus 3. Oh. Factoring, please. Don't forget the GCF. So all of that in white would have been the answer. Again, you could have changed the binomials. How did I give partial credit? Partial credit. Okay, this is question number 6. Partial credit. If you got, I only gave you, again, this was out of 1 point. If you, question number 6, if I gave you 2 point, if you got the rest of the problem wrong, if you just found a common factor of 3 or x, right? Let's just say you thought the answer was something like this. 3 times 8x cubed plus 10x squared minus 3x, okay? Or if you got an answer like you just factored out an x, 24x squared plus 30x minus 9, okay? That would have given you just 0.2 points. 0.3 if you found a GCF. Maybe you did this, 3x, and then you said the answer was the 8x squared plus 10x minus 3. Or, I think I gave you guys 0.9 points, so most of the problem correct if you missed the GCF and you wrote an answer that just has the factored one in pink on the outside of the box. So if you got something like this. Now, a common mistake is just the pluses and minuses, and that is super important. That's why you use that little X puzzle. All right, let's go on to question number 7, the matching one. Okay. I believe I told you guys a free answer for that question. So basically, that is not on any of these answers. So what I did is each of these problems, each of these are 0.3 points. And regardless of what you put in there, I gave you the free answer. And if you didn't put it in there, that is okay. I just gave you the answer. Okay. Let me double check. All right, let's go ahead and go over this problem. X squared minus 16. So again, that's x squared plus 0x minus 16 because it's in descending order. You have an x squared, you have an x to the first, and you have an x to the 0. Okay? And so then my a value is 1, b value is 0, and c value is negative 16. So when I do my x method, I have a times c, which is negative 16. My b value is 0. Remember, anytime your b value is 0, those two numbers on the over here are going to be the same. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. So that's going to be a positive 4 and a negative 4. So this would be positive 4, negative 4 that I just got from my x method. And so my answer is going to be this, which is the middle choice right there. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and try this next one here. This one is, again, you're just going to identify your A, B's, and C's. So A is 1, B is 8, and C is 16. Let's do this X method. And I have A times C, which is 16, and my B value is 8. And two numbers that multiply to 16 but add to be 8, they're going to be a 4 and a 4. Okay, so if you write, those are positive 4s, right? If you buy a pair of shoes online, and let's just say you like the shoes so much, you buy 2 pairs. You wouldn't say, I got a pair of Jordan 3s and a pair of Jordan 3s. You would probably say something like, I got 2 pairs of Jordan 3s, right? So what we do is you have the exponent tells you how many of those Jordans you got, right? That's quantity 1, quantity 1. And when you're multiplying here, you can actually add the exponents. So the answer there is going to be x plus 4 to the power of 2. x plus 4 to the power of 2, which is that last choice. Okay, why did Ralph break the internet here? X squared plus 6x plus 16. So this would be 16 and this would be 6. And my factors of 16 are 16 and 1, 8 and 2, and 4 and 4. Well, none of these, if you chose 8 and 2, let's put it in here, you'll see that you can't, let's do it red. No, right? No. 8 plus 2 gives me 10. So this should have been x squared plus 10x plus 16. I chose this question from a test bank, which means it's pre-made questions, and I didn't recognize I was wrong. So that's my fault. So I gave you guys the answer, even though it's totally wrong. The answer I gave you guys that you could have picked was 8 plus 2. And what I did is, again, I went back and everyone should have gotten that question right. But next time I give you a free answer, can you at least put it in there? I mean, I'm trying to help you guys. Free point right there. So that was a total of 1 point for question number 7. So 3 mini problems, and you're kind of like your answers were all there. And that was supposed to be the choice for 7C, right? So that's like 3 parts. That's why it said the answer 7C. Okay, last one. Oh, look at that problem, so big. Huh, what should I do? I can list out all the factors. So I'm gonna do this problem in 2 ways. GCF, and then the second way, we have space over here. I'm gonna say no GCF. And I want to show you guys that you can actually do this problem in 2 ways, right? You can cook chicken multiple ways. You can do a math problem most of the time multiple ways. Okay, so I have, what are the factors of 12? I'm going to forget the 168, but the 6 there looks like it's a hint. So let's try 6. And -1 times 6 times x. Okay, so I'm going to pull out my calculator. I'll let you guys use calculators. So I have 168 divided by 6 on my calculator gives me -1, because anytime you see a negative, just put -1. I have 6 times 28. Okay. Okay. What's my GCF? Here is a 6. And then let's go back and write everything that we did not circle in orange. -x, you can put a -1x if there you want, not going to hurt you, and a -28. Okay. Remember, take a look in here. You got to check this if it's factorable. So we have to do the x and the box. All right, so I've got a times c is going to give me -56. And I have b value, which is -1. Did you see how I noticed I only underline in blue here what's inside the parentheses? That's the only thing that you're putting in here into our x method. The GCF just kind of hangs out on the outside there. All right, so let's start factors, 56 and 1. Then I usually do 2, so what's half of 56? We already saw that was 28. 3 can't do it. 4 can go into 56. 4 goes into 5 one time, remainder 1. How many times 4 go into 16? That is 4 times. And one other one, 8 times 7. Okay, which of those would give us a combination of both positive and negatives to be -1? And that's going to be this choice right here. So 8 and 7. And I want a -1. So that means the negative has to be bigger. The bigger number has to be negative. So -8 times 7 gives me -56. And -8 plus 7, if you want, you can write a plus if that helps you, equals -1. So let's write those two numbers, bottom left and top right. Okay. Again, what do you write in the top left? That is the first term here. And what goes in the bottom right? That's the last value, inside the parentheses, negative 28. Let's factor that. So, are these numbers both even? No. So they just have an x in common. Okay? And then, if you take out this way, GCF, looks like it is a 2x. Because 2 and 8 are both positive. Okay, this one's a little bit tricky. Going up here, it looks like the GCF is a 7. Again, if you needed to, you could have done something like 7 times x. This is kind of painful. I would not do it. And then 4 times 7. Do you guys see this? I'm kind of just doing a GCF problem, which is just a positive 7 there. See it? Okay, let's double check. And then over here, I need greatest common factor. It looks like it's just a negative number because they both have negatives. And I'm going to I know it's a 4. And then again, it's just like a multiplication table. You can just multiply, check your answers. Okay, so on the outside of our box here, we have these binomials. 2x plus 7 and x minus 4. And do not forget the 6 here, okay? Super important. That's my answer. All right, this is going to be kind of crazy, but I just want to show you how math is very forgiving. Feel free to skip in 3 minutes if you want to see what's going to happen for the partial credit, but I just want to show you how this problem can be done if you don't see the GCF in the beginning. It is painful. I don't know if we can do it. Okay, why is this painful? Because you're going to basically see that your A value is 12, B value is negative 6, and your C value is negative 168. Let's see if we can try it. I might have pause the video so I can work on it a little bit. So 12 times negative 168 is 2016. And B value is negative 6. That was negative. Okay, and then you would have to basically list out all the factors of 2016. Oh my goodness. So 2016 times 1. Okay, that's not going to help. 2 times, what's half that number? 1013. Okay. Give me some time so I can figure out all the other factors, and then I'll come back and then we can kind of pick. All right, so I went out and listed all of the factors. And this is why finding the greatest common factor is so important. Because if not, I have all these numbers, and I'm trying to find 2 numbers that are really close to each other, and the difference is 6, and that's right there. You would have a 48 and 42. This is going to be negative, so let's go ahead and finish up this problem. See, let's just please, guys, greatest common factor, 12x squared, that's the A value, and the C value, negative 168. Okay, let's try this. Here we go. I know I'm not going to put a 12 on the left because 12 times something can't equal 42, so I'm going to put 12 up here. And then I'm going to put the x over here. So that means, hello, what happened? It's okay. This has to be 42. And then, let's see, this would have to be a 4. And this would have to be a negative. I don't know who that was. Negative 4. And negative 4 times 42 gives me negative 168. Okay, this is good. This is good. All right. So let's almost done there. But if you think about this problem here, this right here, if you broke them up into factors, you would have something like this, right? 6 times 2 times x and 6 times 7. And then your GCF there would be a 6. Does that make sense? So let's write that here. And then I have the pink answer. And usually write the GCFs out in front, right? Does that match my pink one? Yes, it does. So let's write our final answer. 6 times 2x plus 7 and x minus 4. Okay, so how did I get the partial points? Partial points for question number 6. Question number 6. Question number 8. If you missed the GCF, you got 0.9. Missed GCF. If you just have that right above if you just have this right there, 2x plus 7 and x minus 4, you missed the 6. Okay. I give you 0.3 if you got the GCF correct, meaning you got a 6 and then you got something else over there. And then I gave you 0.2 if you found a common factor like 2 or 3 and then something like that. Okay, so there you have it, folks. That was only worth 1 point. But I wanted to show you that math is forgiving, right? You could have done this with the greatest common factor first or no GCF, but recognize our problems. Look at all those crazy numbers, right? That's lots of numbers, so please, they're crying out, find the greatest common factor. You guys have a greatest common factor weekend. See you.